The newspapers have to go back to basics in terms of journalism and professional ethics if they are to remain relevant in this day and age of Malaysian society, said a report by 3 media watchdogs. Launching the report today, Centre for Independent Journalism Executive Director Gayathry said this return to the fundamental role and purpose of journalism includes doing away with government-prescribed ratios that determine how many pro-Barisan Nasional versus pro-opposition reports are published. The report, a quantitative analysis of the election reporting of 6 English, Malay and Tamil language newspapers, was a media monitoring initiative jointly conducted by CIJ, Writers Alliance for Media Independence and Charter 2000 Aliran. The report provided a quantitative breakdown of the newspaper's articles in relation to Barisan Nasional component parties and opposition parties PKR, DAP and PAS. According to the report, The Star was the most partial among English newspapers in terms of elections reporting in favor of Barisan Nasional, with 63.12% of its election reports being pro-BN.
The newspapers just need to go back to basics. You go back to fairness, accuracy, balanced reporting. I think it is the first step really to build the credibility. So it doesn't really take too much to start off the process. Because obviously now, I hope that editors are rethinking their mindset. And we see that Wong Chun Wai has written twice on the need to dismantle all of these things. We need press freedom from someone who doesn't actually promote press freedom. I'm quite surprised by his tone. But it really showed how irrelevant the kind of coverage that took place in these newspapers, I'll say for these newspapers, because despite this bombardment, despite 90% BN, on top of ads, results showed otherwise in terms of the elections. Something had happened, and I think that the people had already made up their mind not to believe what was in the newspapers. And maybe the ads just went beyond the limit, that people just said, forget it, So I think it's really time to go back to basics, to what journalism is all about, as a step one. And not have to say that there is a ratio of what is pro-BN and what is opposition. I think you shouldn't have to work in that environment. And I think competition is not a bad word. I think we actually need a lot more newspapers, a lot more forms of other media to keep each other in check. At the moment, there isn't enough. And then we, on our part, at least, we work towards trying to get some of these constraints, to negotiate some of these constraints so that you can work in a better environment, so that you will bring the percentage down to 40% and not 80%. So these are things, because really looking at the stories, it doesn't take much more than actually applying some of the ethical standards, some of the journalistic standards to say, how do you provide a good coverage. So that's our recommendation, with the conclusion that I don't think this was very different from 2004. We don't think it was very different from 1999, maybe with slight improvement in some of the media. But if the editors are serious about, actually making their newspapers relevant, they have to start now. I think that for once now, I think editors need to set aside their competition in terms of circulation for a while, not completely leave it, but I think they need to see the interest of the media industry and the readers and actually take a united stand. I think it's really necessary because all the editors know each other. They are all friends. I don't think it's a problem to get them together, but they have not taken a united stand against, say, for example, the Internal Security Ministry and say, look, this is ridiculous that you're putting all this pressure. They're meeting them every month. Why walk away with the instruction from the ministry? Why not say, we can't do this, otherwise we're losing our business? Circulation may go up, but of course during elections, people want to read, even though they know it, they're not going to believe it. People still have that curiosity, they want to know certain things, Many people feel that Malaysia Kini is sympathetic to PKR, but I don't think that that's the case. At least knowing personally, I don't think that's the case. There's a lot of expectations on Malaysia Kini on being the champions of press freedom and good journalism and whatever. But I think sometimes they also have some problems with their coverage, where we have noted in the English section, so we didn't monitor the Mandarin section. where we still felt that some of the reports were not in-depth enough. They could have been better. They also are very selective in their issues, and sometimes I think that they are also off the mill as the newspapers in the selection of the stories. So, but I think that there are factors, possibly pressure for time, coming up with the stories or whatever. Sometimes the stories are the same as what you get, just a slightly different perspective, whereas our expectation is that it has to provide something broader and different. But I would say that actually a lot of people think that Malaysian Kini is pro-Kikiang, so maybe you want to check that out. But on the evening of the results, Malaysian Kini came out champion lah. They were the champions for sure. And when we had Malaysian Kini, we had the TV of all the stations from Awani to Bernama to whatever. They lost lah, terribly lost.